Karen blocked mountain rescue with HOA power. I airlifted gear with a Chinook helicopter. What would you do if one woman's petty power trip nearly cost a stranded hiker their life? The call came in at dawn, crackling through the radio at our mountain rescue base in Timberline, Oregon. A hiker, a young woman named Mia, was stranded at 10,000 feet on Mount Hood. Her ankle shattered after a fall on unstable ice. The summer sun had turned the glaciers into a deadly maze of melting crevasses, and time was running out. Our team at Portland Mountain Rescue, a volunteer unit I'd been with for a decade, scrambled to prepare. We needed to get gear ropes, medical supplies, and a stretcher to the summit fast. But what should have been a straightforward mission spiraled into chaos, all because of Karen, the self-appointed queen of the Timberline Homeowners Association. I'm Jake, a former Army National Guard pilot turned rescue volunteer, and I've seen my share of high-stakes missions. But nothing prepared me for the battle I'd face on the ground before we could even reach the mountain. The plan was simple. Load our gear into a Chinook helicopter, a beast of a machine I'd flown in my military days, and airlift it to a staging area near the summit. The Oregon Army National Guard had agreed to provide the chopper, and we were ready to move. But as we prepped at the Timberline Lodge parking lot, Karen stormed in, clipboard in hand, her face twisted with righteous fury. "You can't park that monstrosity here," she barked, pointing at the Chinook idling on the lot's edge. Her voice carried the shrill authority of someone who'd spent years enforcing HOA rules about mailbox colors and lawn ornaments. "This is private property, and I didn't authorize any helicopters. You're violating Regulation 17B, Section 4, and I'll have you towed." Towed? A 50,000-pound helicopter? I exchanged a glance with Sarah, our team's medic, who looked ready to laugh or scream. The clock was ticking. Mia was hypothermic, alone, and in pain. We didn't have time for this. I stepped forward, keeping my voice calm. "Ma'am, this is an emergency. A woman's life is at stake. We're using this lot to stage a rescue." Karen didn't budge. "I don't care about your excuses. You didn't submit a permit, and I'm not letting this eyesore ruin our community's aesthetic." She waved her clipboard like a scepter, citing rules about unauthorized vehicles and noise pollution. Behind her, a small crowd of HOA members gathered, some nodding in agreement, others looking uneasy. I noticed a man in a flannel shirt, probably in his 60s, hovering at the edge of the group, his expression conflicted. I tried reasoning. "The National Guard is here to save a life. We'll be gone in an hour." But Karen was relentless, threatening to call the sheriff and block the lot's access road with her SUV. Every minute we argued, Mia's chances dwindled. The team was restless. Sarah was already prepping medical kits, and our lead climber, Tom, was pacing, muttering about the melting ice. We needed a solution, fast. Then came the twist I didn't see coming. The man in the flannel, who'd been quiet until now, stepped forward. "Karen, enough," he said, his voice low but firm. Heads turned. He was Richard, the HOA's treasurer and, as it turned out, a retired firefighter with 20 years of experience. "I was on rescues like this before you moved here. These people are trying to save someone. Let them do their job." The crowd murmured, and Karen's confidence faltered. Richard wasn't done. "I checked the bylaws last night. Emergency services are exempt from 17B. You're wrong." Karen's face reddened, but she doubled down. "I'm protecting our community. You can't just..." Richard cut her off, pulling out his phone. "I'm calling the sheriff myself, Karen. You're obstructing a rescue. That's a felony." The crowd gasped, and Karen's clipboard lowered an inch. Richard's unexpected stand shifted the momentum. He wasn't just a bystander. He'd been on the front lines of emergencies and knew the stakes. His calm authority exposed Karen's overreach, and the HOA members started to peel away, some whispering apologies. But Karen wasn't done yet. She planted herself in front of the Chinook, arms crossed, daring us to move. "You're not going anywhere until I get a written apology and a permit," she declared. The situation was absurd, but it was also dangerous. Mia's last radio check-in had been 20 minutes ago, and her voice was fading. We couldn't wait for the sheriff to sort this out. That's when I made the call. I'd flown Chinooks in worse conditions: dust storms in Afghanistan, blizzards in Alaska. Petty HOA tyrant wasn't going to stop me. I radioed the pilot, Captain Lopez, an old friend from my guard days. Lopez, we're loading now. Take off from the lot's edge, no matter what she does. He didn't hesitate. Roger that, Jake. Let's get this done. The team moved like lightning, hauling gear into the Chinook's belly. Karen screamed about lawsuits, but the roar of the twin rotors drowned her out. As the chopper's blades spun up, the downdraft sent her clipboard flying, papers scattering across the lot. The HOA crowd scattered too, some shielding their faces, others filming on their phones. Karen stood her ground for a moment, hair whipping in the wind, before Richard gently pulled her back. The Chinook lifted off, its rear wheels barely clearing the asphalt, and we were airborne, leaving Karen's tantrum behind. The flight to Mount Hood was tense. At 11,000 feet, the air was thin, and the Chinook strained against the warm summer currents. Lopez executed a pinnacle landing, a maneuver I'd done a dozen times in the military, touching down just the rear wheels on a narrow ridge while the front hovered. It was risky, but we had no choice. The ice was too unstable for a ground approach. We offloaded the gear in minutes, and Sarah and Tom rappelled down to Mia's location, guided by her faint GPS signal. Mia was in bad shape, her ankle swollen and her body shaking from the cold. Sarah stabilized her while Tom rigged a stretcher. The Chinook returned, hovering as we hoisted Mia aboard. The pilot's skill was unreal, holding steady against gusts that could have slammed us into the rock face. By the time we airlifted Mia to a Portland hospital, she was stable, though she'd need surgery. The doctor said we'd gotten to her just in time. Back at Timberline, the fallout was swift. Karen's stunt had gone viral, thanks to the HOA members' videos. X-posts lit up with hashtags like Karen vs. Rescue and HOA Power Trip, showing her screaming as the Chinook took off. The sheriff arrived, but not to help Karen. She was cited for obstructing an emergency operation. Richard, the retired firefighter, became a local hero, his quiet stand against Karen's tyranny earning him interviews on local news. The HOA held an emergency meeting, and Karen was voted out as president, her reign of petty rules collapsing under the weight of public outrage. Mia recovered, sending our team a heartfelt letter from her hospital bed. She'd been hiking alone, trying to clear her head after a rough year, and never expected to survive that fall. "You didn't just save my life," she wrote. "You showed me there are people who'll fight for strangers. As for me, I'm back at the base, prepping for the next call." Flying that Chinook again felt like coming home, but the real victory was seeing Karen's ego crash harder than any helicopter ever could. Her need for control almost cost Mia everything, but teamwork, grit, and one unexpected ally turned the tide. What do you think? Where do you draw the line between following rules and doing what's right? Share your thoughts below.